Hello and welcome everybody. This is my home office setup. This is how I'm getting work done now that I can't be in my office on campus to meet with you guys. So in any case, today's video is going to be all about thesis statements. It is the most important sentence in an entire essay because it boils down the essence of the entire essay into one specific sentence. That is your argument. And I have three specific things that I want you to keep in mind. The first, I want your thesis statements to always include a limited and narrow topic. What do I mean by this? Well, if it's limited and narrow, you could do the argument justice in the space that you're provided. Say if the assignment is a 3 or 5 page essay, then I need you to make sure that the argument really can be proven to an extent in that space. So if it's a 3-page essay, for instance, you wouldn't want to tackle a topic like world hunger because a full-on book could be written about that, right? You wouldn't want to write an argument about women in professional sports either because you would have to cover way too many sports, you would have to cover way too many athletes potentially, and so that also is a problem. And it's a problem because then the topic becomes really broad and then only allows you to have a very shallow depth in terms of how much support and development you can provide per point before you have to move on to another broad point that you're having to cover, right? Now, an example of a limited and narrow topic then might be a specific ruling in, say, for a specific golf tournament in the LPGA that affected the outcome. Like that particular argument would be really narrow and specific for a 3-page essay. You might look at a particular athlete in a particular sport and their endorsements. That would be really narrow and specific, an argument about that. So you want to pick and choose what your argument is depending on the prompt, depending on what page space you're given, all right? But I know a lot of beginning writers will struggle with this and they will try to pick a broad topic because they're worried that they're going to run out of things to say. And so this is where pre-writing becomes really important. You need to make sure that you do have enough to say. But remember, the goal is a very narrow and specific argument. Has a lot of depth behind it, okay? Next, the second thing, I want you to make sure that you have an assertion. This is an attitude, opinion, or belief about that limited topic. This is the thing that you're arguing and that not all people should be in agreement with. Which leads me to my third thing, right? The argument should need to be proven. If it is something that all people acknowledge, like, well, not all, but let's say a good 95% of the public believes that cigarette smoking is harmful for your health, that it can have dangerous side effects. If people believe this, or that people shouldn't drive while drunk, if people believe that, that's an argument that doesn't need to be written. You know, the whole point of writing a college essay is that it is supposed to challenge your critical thinking ability and allow you to articulate exactly why people should do or believe what it is that you believe. And so there's a lot of strategy in that. So make sure that you pick something controversial, something that needs to be proven. This is why we have the text that we do. I think it gives us a lot to think about, a lot to discuss. Is there going to be one perfect way to write this? No, but I do say that you want to be very conscientious as to how you approach your audience. So whether you're writing it for me, you're writing it for another faculty member, you're writing it to be peer reviewed for your peers, you want to think about what kind of resistance, what kind of counter arguments could be offered so that you present a really strong argument, all right? So those three things, you want a limited and narrow focus, you want an assertion, an attitude, opinion, or belief, and you want the argument to make sure that it needs to be proven, all right? So keep those three things in mind. And for further development into this, let's take a look at this next segment. Welcome.
to a game that we like to play in our classes called Thesis Idol. We have our guest judges here. Each one is a premier tutor at Fullerton College that I've worked with for multiple semesters. So please introduce yourselves, prefects.
Hi everyone, my name is Mimi Macias, and this is my third semester tutoring with Fullerton College. I am also a tutor at Irvine Valley College, and I am a grad student at Cal State Fullerton studying TESOL, which is teaching English to to speakers of other languages.
Nice.
Okay, I'm Josie. I go to Fullerton College. It's my second semester tutoring this class.
Because it's the fall, it's technically year 2, right?
Yeah. Right? Or no, yeah, 1 semester, right? Okay, but I'm now like I'm a quantum mechanics major, but Fullerton College doesn't have that, so it's just math. I'm thinking about double majoring in philosophy, but I'm not sure. Eventually, I'm going to get my PhD. I don't know. I'm a student just like y'all, but I love Professor Sherman's class, so I wanted to do it. Yeah.
I am Alex Kamper. I just go by Kamper. I've been tutoring for 3 semesters, 1 semester with Professor Sharoma, and I just recently left Fullerton College after my 2nd year to go to University of San Francisco. Sadly, I did not move to San Francisco, but at least now I can still tutor with Professor Sharoma.
And you came prepared today.
Yes, I just got back from the store, be prepared, get your beans, but...
Yeah, ready for COVID.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so everybody, we're going to take a look at these thesis statements and then give feedback for them. So you'll see them on the screen right now. The first one, everyone has an equal chance to succeed. However, not everyone starts at the same position, and the hardships to get to the finish line differ between people. All right, so tutors, what do you think? What feedback would we give this student?
Well, like the first part before the comma and the second part, they're constant, they're kind of contradicting each other, aren't they? Because it's like everyone has an equal chance to succeed, and then like people don't have an equal chance. It's a little bit unclear. Not the biggest issue, but
I think they're trying to like portray the point that like at the beginning of birth, everyone has an equal chance to succeed, and then it was society's hardships. But you're right, the way it's written, it's very confusing. So.
It's also just really broad. Like, I don't know in what way they're talking about succeeding. Like, I don't know what that means. Are they going to focus on economy, on education?
Academics, right.
Yeah, so they need to narrow it down.
It would have to be a very long paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and the hardships to get to the finish line differ between people. To me, this thesis statement is trying to accomplish too much. I love the ambition, but narrow it down to one specific thing. We don't even know what country it's applying to, for instance. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Next one. It's more profitable to represent the upper class in television shows and over-represent the idea that they have it easier than the lower class. All right, what do we think about this one?
So for this one, I think there's 2 different ideas being argued here. One of them is the first one. So it is more profitable to represent the upper class in television shows. And then the other one is, which I kind of don't understand, over-represents the idea that they have it easier than the lower class. So like, are they supposed to go together? Or,
and it's not even clear what side they're on.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing to really argue. I think, honestly, it should be over-represent the idea that they have it easier in the lower class. But then again, first of all, there's no argument.
I mean, it could easily become one if somebody said that the television studios should represent or better represent the lower class or something like that would make it much clearer. But right now, yeah, great feedback, everybody. Shall we move on? We'll do the next one. Many people in our society believe that we all have an equal shot at the American dream. However, our society statistically in recent years has shown that typically the class you are born in is the class you will spend your life in. Whew. What do we think about this?
It's a good thesis statement, but statistically, it narrows it too much to the point where you can only talk about statistics in the essay. You wouldn't necessarily talk about any other sort of evidence, and that would honestly just make your whole essay really bland.
Yeah.
So, other than that, it's pretty good. And the comma should be after the however.
Yeah. We could put a semicolon after American Dream or a period there and capitalize the H on however, and comma like Josie said. But the thing that I like about this thesis, as opposed to the previous ones, is that we know there's a really clear assertion here. You know, typically, and I like the qualifier of typically. So it's not always the case, but it's typically the class that you're born in. It's the class you will spend your life in. I like the tone of it too. That's like so depressing, and it leaves a mark. So there's some kind of personality in this one that I appreciate.
It's also very clear that they're saying we do not have an equal shot at the American dream, as opposed to the other ones, which are like, oh, I don't know what's going on in this argument.
Yeah.
This one, I think you read and you know that that's the argument, right? So anyway, if this was Thesis Idol, this one, I think with a little tweaking would go to Hollywood. Let's move on, everybody. Next one. Class differences have a significant impact on the health, education, and day-to-day lifestyle of the lower class. All right. What do we think about this?
Well, first of all, it's a categorical thesis statement. So you're pointing out the 3 things that you're going to be talking about in your body paragraphs, which is great for clarity. But in a college setting, you want to avoid doing that because that's more of maybe like a high school thesis statement. And you want to try to find a way to encompass all of those 3 things into one phrase. And also, you guys like to say anything?
When you when you do like bing, bang, boom like that, that's like the technical term, I think, right? That's what I've been taught for like that.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Yeah. But when you do that, it limits the possibility of further clarifying what you're going to talk about. So you can't talk about the specific health, education, and day-to-day lifestyles like you could if you were to phrase it differently. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What I don't like about this one is when you get to the topic sentences and the body paragraphs, it's probably going to totally repeat exactly what's being said here, and it just becomes really formulaic and repetitive. And it's also not narrowed to class differences where.
Yeah, it's really, really broad, despite laying out what they're going to talk about, which is odd.
Yeah, this is a good working thesis, though, to keep in place so you can at least finish the draft, but then go back to it and then tweak it, right? Yeah, great feedback, everybody. Okay, moving on. We have 3 examples from our text. This is all focused around a hypothetical prompt on the Hunger Games. It says, ultimately, the Hunger Games is a film about facing fears. So one example there. The second, in the 2012 film, The Hunger Games, the main character's fear of losing her sister drives her to face a different set of dangers. And then lastly, Katniss Everdeen, the heroine of Hunger Games, creates as much danger for herself as she faces from others over the course of the film. Really interesting, especially that last one. What do you guys think?
Well, the first one's obviously very, very broad and very unfocused.
Yep.
But I think that's the point.
At least it narrows it down to the Hunger Games.
Yes.
The first 2, I feel like it's just kind of summarizing it. It's kind of factual. There's not really an argument there. But then the last one, you can clearly see something more controversial because maybe not everyone agrees that she created all of that danger, right? Maybe there's 2 sides to that.
I think that one's definitely more argumentative because it's arguing that she creates more dangers for herself
Mhm.
than others. But like that one's a good arguable point because you could also say contraire, like she didn't really create the danger. What is it the government did by creating the Hunger Games in the first place? So that makes it arguable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right?
The second one I think is pretty solid too, with explaining a character's motivation, because that could be interpreted in different ways and argued as well, right? That the fear of losing her sister is like everything that drives her.
I feel like the second one would be a very short paper though,
Right.
because like there's not a lot in the Hunger Games about that. Like you'd have like one bit from the first book, one bit from the second, one bit from the third, and that'd be it. Or I guess this is about the first film.
So I think,
right.
Yeah, the only evidence you could pretty much give for that one is like during the picking, right?
And
when like sacrifices herself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much.
We're gonna get some angry comments on this video. About, oh, you guys don't know the Hunger Games well enough.
Right.
You're all wrong.
If this was Harry Potter thesis statements, we would have more concrete things to say, perhaps. Well, yeah, thank you everybody for your feedback on these thesis statements, and hopefully this also gave you some insight as to why it's important to attend tutoring, because we have some excellent tutors that could give you really good feedback, whether it's about helping you on pre-writing or narrowing down a good thesis statement or work on a paper. All right. So with that being said, any final thoughts, prefects, tutors?
Just come to tutoring.
Yeah.
Come meet me.
Yeah, and see you all on Canvas, everybody.
Make sure to get your beans before they run out.
Right.
Thank you everybody for watching.
Bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye.